Did Donald Trump really defy a federal judge? And if he did, is he creating a constitutional crisis in doing so? These are bold and provocative questions that the Democrats are asking, but like most things when it comes to Donald Trump, there is a lot more nuance than meets the eye. So there are actually two separate legal issues here. The first one is, did Donald Trump apply the law correctly? So according to the New York Times, Trump wants to speed up deportations with Alien Enemies Act. What to know? The Alien Enemies Act of 1798 gives the president wartime powers to deport undocumented immigrants with little to no due process. So what the Trump administration is arguing is that members of TDA as well as MS-13, they're not just regular migrants, they are actually invaders, and that is the reasoning, that is the legal justification that the Trump administration used to invoke this act. Well, a federal judge said, hold on a minute, I actually want to review this. So Trump actually had sent a plane of these gang members out of the country, and the judge ruled late Saturday evening, basically 24 hours after Trump invoked the act, you guys need to return the planes. Well, Donald Trump did not return the planes because they already landed in El Salvador. This is footage that the president of El Salvador posted on X, and as you can see, members of TDA as well as MS-13 are being transported from the plane to this jail that specifically was built to hold terrorists. Now, whether or not Donald Trump defied a federal judge actually depends on the timing of this entire incident. Despite what the Democrats and the media are claiming, the timing and location of the planes actually could prove to be a very strong legal argument. So Axios has a timeline of what exactly transpired. According to Axios, the timeline: the president signed the executive order invoking the Alien Enemies Act on Friday night, but intentionally did not advertise it. On Saturday morning, word of the order leaked, officials said, prompting a mad scramble to get planes in the air. At 2:31 p.m. Saturday, an immigration activist who tracks deportation flights posted on X that two highly unusual ICE flights were departing from Texas to El Salvador, which had agreed to accept Venezuelan gang members deported from the United States. Hours later, during a court hearing filed by the ACLU, Boasberg, the judge, by the way, who is an Obama appointee, ordered a halt to the deportations and said any flights should be turned around in midair. Quote, "This is something that you need to make sure is complied with immediately," end quote, he told the Justice Department, according to the Washington Post. At that point, this is about 24 hours after Trump invoked the act, about 6:51 p.m., both flights were off the Yucatan Peninsula, according to flight paths posted on X. So the timing of all of that is very important. But here is where things get really interesting. So again, this is according to Axios. Inside the White House, officials discussed whether to order the planes around. On advice from a team of administration lawyers, the administration pressed ahead. Quote, "There was a discussion about how far the judge's ruling can go under the circumstances and over international waters, and, on advice of counsel, we proceeded with deporting these thugs," the senior official said. "They were already outside of U.S. airspace. We believe the order is not applicable," a second senior administration official told Axios. So the reason I wanted to read all of that is because I do believe the timeline is important, and I believe the reasoning that the administration gave is important. Now, if the Trump administration had said, you know what, these are criminals, these are gang members, they're violent, we need to get rid of them, screw the judge, okay, then yeah, the Democrats would have a point. But the fact that they deliberated on this, the fact that they brought in a team of lawyers, and those lawyers wrestled with, hey, are they over international waters? Are they outside of the jurisdiction of the United States? And if so, does the judge's order hold any weight? The fact that they wrestled with that, I believe, will prove to hold up in court. And even if it doesn't prove up in court, it proves that the Trump administration isn't just acting like a dictatorship or an authoritarian regime, which the left is claiming. The reality is that they're still trying to work within the confines of the Constitution and the law, or else they wouldn't have wrestled with those issues in the first place. Well, Democrats are already freaking out. According to a national security attorney, court order defied, first of many, as I've been warning, and start of true constitutional crisis. Ultimately, it will lead to Trump impeachment proceedings. Again, if Trump wanted to break the law, I doubt he would have invoked that act from 1798. And what's really funny here is what the left is arguing, they're not arguing whether or not Trump applied the law correctly. What they're arguing is that this law is so old. And Tom Homan actually had a brilliant rebuttal. I think it was the art of the mic drop. I mean, his rebuttal to what the Democrats are claiming is so good. It should be studied. But before I show you that, I just want to show you a clip of Jasmine Crockett on CNN. She basically calls it a zombie law because it hasn't been invoked since World War II, and it was, again, from 1798. And I want to play this to just prove the point that Democrats, their argument isn't how Trump applied this law, but the fact that, oh, it's oh so old.
The big news of this morning, President Trump seeking to use the Alien Enemies Act, a wartime authority, a law signed by John Adams in 1798, to deport undocumented Venezuelans that the administration say are dangerous individuals with ties to the gang Tren de Aragua. That gang is obviously associated with a lot of crime, human trafficking, drug dealing, theft, shootings, including in your state of Texas, right outside of your congressional district. Do you agree with this? And if not, what's your issue with the U.S. using any tool at its disposal to remove undocumented violent people from this country?
Well, my argument is that we already have tools that are available to remove undocumented violent people from our country. And so the idea that you want to go into a zombie law, this is kind of like what we saw in Arizona when they decided to revive a zombie law around abortion. It is the fact that we can't trust this administration to actually use a scalpel, but instead they love to use a butcher knife on things. And so giving them this wide latitude to just kind of go across and just claim that anybody is anything is wrong. And so we do have courts, we do have processes, we do have laws, and we should just go ahead and use those. There's a reason that nobody else has decided to go back until into Adams' times in order to try to find ways to make sure that we can keep our country safe.
So you heard it right there. She referred to it as a zombie law, and she says, why are we going back to the times of the founding fathers and listening to their laws? Literally, that's what she's saying right there. I mean, okay, not literally, but that was the point she was making. Well, before I show you Tom Homan's mic drop, because he had, again, it was the art of the mic drop, but she was referring to them as if they're just normal migrants, normal immigrants who have come here, but they're not. According to Marco Rubio, we sent 2 dangerous top MS-13 leaders plus 21 of its most wanted back to face justice in El Salvador. Also, as promised by POTUS, we sent over 250 alien enemy members of TDA, which El Salvador has agreed to hold in their very good jails. And just to confirm, the president of El Salvador posted a comment on X basically saying that he approved all of this. And when the Democrats were complaining about Trump ignoring the judge, the president of El Salvador also posted, oopsie, too late. So they are definitely on our side and they agree with us. Now, I wanted to say all of that to say Jasmine Crockett was wrong with just attempting to refer to them as just ordinary migrants and illegal immigrants. But she was especially wrong when she referred to it as a zombie law. And here is Tom Homan's brilliant response.
You say to those who claim you're using a 200-year-old law to circumvent due process?
An old law? Not as old as the Constitution. We still pay attention to that, don't we?
But some would say this is...
How many more terrorists do you plan on deporting to El Salvador?
Yeah. I mean, he spoke so much truth, so much fire. We pay attention to the Constitution. It's what binds us together. It's what makes America great. We listen to that. It's from the time of Adams and the founding fathers. It's what Jasmine Crockett, I guess, would refer to as a zombie law. He just said it, no explanation, because everyone knows it's true. And he just walks away. I think that is one of the best mic drop moments I have ever seen. Kudos to him. Yeah. 2 more things here. Caroline Leavitt has actually posted a defense of the Trump administration. Her post, the administration did not refuse to comply with the court order. The order, which had no lawful basis, was issued after terrorist TDA aliens had already been removed from U.S. territory. The written order and the administration's actions do not conflict. Moreover, as the Supreme Court has repeatedly made clear, federal courts generally have no jurisdiction over the president's conduct of foreign affairs, affairs, his authorities under the Alien Enemies Act, and his core Article 2 powers to remove foreign alien terrorists from U.S. soil and repel a declared invasion. A single judge in a single city cannot direct the movements of an aircraft carrying foreign alien terrorists who were physically expelled from U.S. soil. Now, it would be one thing if this was just all statements from the administration, right? Because if that were the case, it could be propaganda, it could be gaslighting, it could be a whole host of things. But again, I'm going to return to CNN. And I know a lot of people don't like CNN, but it's sort of my philosophy on poll numbers, right? And this is not a poll, but I'm going to make an analogy and I think it'll make sense. We all know that the polls tend to overestimate Democrats and underestimate conservatives, especially Donald Trump. And that's why personally on this channel, I like showing a lot of liberal polls, because if a left-leaning poll shows Donald Trump doing really well, then it makes you wonder, how good is Trump actually doing? You know what I'm saying? Same thing here. CNN, if they bring on one of their top legal correspondents, and if that correspondent says, actually, the Trump administration has a strong argument, if they are broadcasting that on CNN, then to me, that gives credence to what the administration is arguing. Take a look at this.
Defy a court order, whether it was verbal or written, doesn't matter, correct?
Well, Sarah, they came right close to the line and maybe over it. And let me tell you the specific details that we need to know in order to make this determination. At the moment the judge gave the order, he said in court on Saturday afternoon, I want you to not fly anyone out of here, or if the flights are already in the air, I want you to turn them around. At that very moment, where were the airplanes? If they were on the ground in the United States, then yes, there was a defiance of the order. If they had already landed in El Salvador, then no, there was no defiance of the order. It was already too late. If they were mid-flight, then we get into questions of where were they? Were they over American territory or international waters? And that's some gray area. That may give the Trump administration something to hang their hat on. But I want to make this point also. It doesn't matter when the written opinion came out from the judge. What matters is the moment when the judge says it in court. I've seen the Trump administration say, well, the written order came out a few hours later. Anyone who's practiced in federal court will tell you when the judge says it from the bench, that is law.
All right, let's talk about the use of the Alien Enemies Act from the 1798 to deport hundreds of Venezuelans. Is that a constitutional use of that particular law that we haven't seen since World War II?
Well, so this will be hotly litigated in the courts. As you say, Sarah, this law goes back to 1798. It's actually been invoked only 3 times, all of them during wartime, during the War of 1812, World War I, World War II. Now, what the law says is it actually gives the president very broad discretion to deport non-citizens in 2 scenarios. One, if there's a declared war with the other country. Of course, that's not the case. We're not in any declared war right now. Or second, if there's an invasion by a foreign government. Now, the Trump administration has argued that this gang, TDA, Trinidad de Aragua's presence in the United States is essentially an invasion. And they've also argued that even though this is a gang, they're sort of aligned with or inseparable from the Venezuelan government. I think both of those are aggressive, novel arguments that they'll be making to the court. The other thing that the Trump administration is arguing is that judges can...
Okay, yeah. So those are, like you said, novel arguments that they're bringing forward. And then what Eli Honig was about to say was that they're also arguing about whether the judge even had the right to declare the planes be returned. And I read that in the various statements earlier. So again, this all comes down to 2 different issues. And the reason I wanted to make this video is because I think a lot of it's getting conflated. Number one, was Trump right to invoke that act? And if so, did he invoke it in the right way? And then issue number 2, did he defy a federal judge? And all of that leads to the question of the day. Since most people online and in the media are talking about whether or not Trump defied a judge and whether or not that starts a constitutional crisis, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Trump defied the judge, or do you think that, hey, they actually had good arguments there? And to me, the fact that they consulted attorneys and that the consensus was, hey, they're already over international waters, they're outside of the United States jurisdiction, Constitution, so therefore the judge's order doesn't apply. And that doesn't even include all the other arguments that they're making about whether or not the judge had the right to even do that in the first place. Now, had the planes been here in the States, had it not taken off, or had it been over U.S. airspace, U.S. land, U.S. waters, then yeah, that would be a different situation. And you know, with technology, it should be easy to prove where the planes were and when they were there. And time will tell. I think it'll come out. Obviously, there's the other legal issue, but that will play out in the courts. And I mean, obviously, if you have an opinion on that, feel free to share it below. In today's video, I just want to give a shout out to the latest members of the Governor's Club. Again, these are people who have done a super thanks or have tipped the channel. So thank you so much. Alpaca Renee, Houston Sammy Girl, who is just always just very supportive of the channel. Thank you. Amanda Rodriguez, Bart Denny, Glenn Kenny. Glenn, by the way, is a Marine veteran, so thank you for your service. And if anyone wants to thank him in the comments down below, thank you. And then USMC Carr, I got to meet you and see you. Well, I've seen your comments around, but then we really got to chatting over the live hangout this past Saturday, so I thank you for joining. And thank you to everyone who continues to support the channel. It's really exciting. One way you can support me is just giving me a thumbs up. It is a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help the channel reach more viewers in the algorithm just like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.